Now, later, Tholins can make things like olefins, can make, I think, even glycerol. If I go into Tholins, glycerol, olefins, deuterium, and helium-3 as part of fusion. Why would you do that? But also some refined syngas, some methanol, formaldehyde. Those three are unique things. Yeah, refined syngas does have a pretty good. There's a pretty good argument to using some refined syngas here and methanol, but you really have to dig into it and determine whether the cost of making the capsule, as well as, you know, making and launching the rocket, the actual cost of the launch, as well as the cost of the satellite, is even worth those 50,000 tholins. Now, 50,000, let's do math. 50,000 divided by 50 times 25 is 25,000 units. 25,000 units of refined syngas if you're doing refined syngas. Okay, if you only need 25 a second, that's going to last you a little while. That's going to last you a little while if you need only 25 per second. That'll last you a whole of 16.6 minutes. Say, for example, you need 25 refined syngas per second that you are doing the tholins out of. You would need to launch a rocket every 16 and a half-ish minutes. Or actually do a setup that's able to make you significantly more refined syngas and use that instead. Like, I just don't see it. I just don't see it as being something that anyone would be interested in doing. It may as well just not in its current form. Not in the current form. There are things being worked on that will hopefully be used for this purpose and make it better. But as it stands, in the current iteration, not worth it. It will change with time. It is an interesting concept, but not really what not really anything that'll be viable for use in the long term for most people. By the way, I am making a absolute ton, obviously, of limestone here. This is going to be used for a couple of things, one of which is lime. We note I need 16.08 limestone to make the molten. I also need 18.22 lime, which is another great thing. I managed to actually get this to be perfect. It's slightly more than a red belt of limestone, sadly. It's slightly more than a red belt of limestone. So very unfortunate. That, it's like 36 point something total limestone that I need. I just have to think about how am I going to do this exactly. What is 11? 15.84. Yeah, I can I'll send one of these sides out for the actual molten stuff up here. That'll be this one. and then the rest are going to combine into one, because now we're going to be 36 minus 16, or 20 some odd, going into the other stuffs, the actual making of lime, which that is going to need 6 high-pressure furnaces. Again, with the speed modules, by the way. 6 beautiful high-pressure furnaces with productivity modules making lime. If I can ever find this recipe. 36. With these, I just tend to put a little doohickey on the outputs. I should actually have it the other way around, but oh well. Now, each one is a bit... Oh boy. Oh god, that's a lot of throughput, each one. Uh-oh, there's a print job going through. You probably hear that. Alright, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this, this, and this. Yes, I need 2 long-handeds on that output, on that outside, to get 3 per second. Yeah, that is 2 with my current stack size. These should easily be able to handle 4.5 each. What's that times 6 again? 27. Just under a red belt of coke, which, yeah, and that's also greater than a lane. I'm going to do loaders on this output. Make it a little bit simpler on that. Add power. So yes, I did get most stuff done in this build, but even over the course of the 3 hours today, I might not actually finish this. Just because of how massive of a build overall this is. There's so much else that needs to get done for the actual inputs of all of this, just so that we can gain an appreciation. Look at that list of stuff that's there. 2.6 thousand units of belt thus far. Like, oh god, 67 ball mills, 40 automated screeners we've got going on here. Just, yeah, and the list just extends off the screen with all the stuff that's here in this build. And I still need to do these last 2 things here, which is the advanced foundries, the 6 advanced foundries, which I'm going to stick way up here. Doing the molten zinc out of high grade. Yeah, that's going to be how that exists. It's going to consume a frickin' ton of heavy oil. A frickin' ton. How much lubricant actually gets consumed? That's my other question. Only 67 units. I've got a plan. An idea for a plan. 1.5 and 0.5. Right. What is this line? This line, I think, was supposed to be the, I guess the limestone? I don't know what that line is supposed to be. 1 and 2. Limestone on top. And I'm keeping these separate because limestone is greater than 15, or greater than 1 lane of red belt. So just the regular inserters here are fine. That will be that. This will be filtration media on the input. I think you can probably tell where I'm going to be bringing stuff by train, and I may have been planning a spot for my train station already. Thus why this is so tall, why I've gone for so many lines. Also, yes, 4. Yes, 20... 36 plus 4. Why do I have a plus 4 here? Just because of red belt limitations. That's it. It's just logistics. It's just because logistics. It works out very well to have sets of 18, or sets of 9, I should say. 9 make 15 out for a full compressed lane on these. So, yeah, I ended up with needing 4 more. And also, note, I have these 4 hydro classifiers here split from the rest to process the G2 out on this step. So this step is going to be making extra grade 2. That can be fully converted using these 4. As far as I can tell, it's just these 4 are fine to get all the G2 into G3, and then it goes back and it goes into which one? Which one is it again? It's this one. It goes into here, and it's greater than 30 grade 3 as well, but, you know, it splits, so this will be fine. This will be fine. Famous last words. What else do I need to make note of? It's a crap ton of pressured air, by the way. Lots and lots of these things are in here. It's our first use of jigs, I think, in total. I have way over yonder in this area Mark II tar extractors. Now, the difference between the Mark I and the Mark II tar extractors is that they are twice as fast with a mining speed, or with a crafting speed, I should say, of 2 rather than 1, which means that they are able to actually output 200 units per second of tar given a high enough yield. But yeah, they can output 200 units per second because they can cycle twice each second, as opposed to the Mark Is, we can only cycle once. And of course, this is all because of the internal buffer limitations of these buildings. They can only store inside of them 100 units of a fluid at a time, even if they would otherwise output like 10,000 plus units at a given moment in time. They can't. They can only store 100. So even though they are actually extracting that many, like thousands and thousands of units from the actual deposit at any given time, everything but 100 units of it is deleted from existence completely. And I do have oil over here, but I don't think I'm going to tap this oil because I need so much of it, but we shall see. I have this neat little... I have a little bit of oil right here. You know, I have a little bit of oil that I've been tapping right here. It's 3,300 units per second of crude oil. Just casually 3,300 units of crude oil in that patch. That's going into, you know, a few trains of crude oil. King tried messing with the derricks to try to fix that. Can't tell if it made a difference. Yeah, it is a little hard to tell because, you know, pipes themselves can only hold 100 units of fluid in them. The way to tell would be to put a tank, on the direct output, and if it increases by a value greater than 100 units with each cycle, then you know you've succeeded. Of course, pipes do have a pretty hard throughput limitation on them anyway. You can't really get too much more than 1200 units per second on a average distance pipe, and the longer the distance, the less you get. I just default myself to saying that pipes have a throughput limitation of 1200 units per second and just simplify it to that. It is a much more complex system. It is not actually true, but it's a good baseline to work off of for most applications, unless you're running something really long distances. It takes quite a few units of segments of pipes before you get under 1200. But yeah, and then don't even get me started on the stupidity of trying to use pumps to make things go faster over distance. It's it's pure shenaniganry if you need to have something more than 1200 units per second of of consumption anywhere. It's better just to have separate pipes. It is just better to have more than the one input pipe if you're trying to do something more than 1200 units per second. It's just super dumb. Alright, let's get this stuff all sorted, and that leaves the 16 casting units. Did I even bring casting units? I did. I have 22 on me. This, though, may prove to be a bit of another logistical challenge, because note, I need to be able to move 15 red belts of output from these. I've also got just under a red belt of borax that I need. I also need sand castings. I need a not insignificant amount of sand castings as well, so I need to build that too out here, as well as provide the tar for that. Tar into creosote, into sand castings for that. That's going to be fun. And I need the hot air. So this is... I did a lot of work on this already. I did like at least 5 hours of work to just build this infrastructure alone, and we're going to now be spending these next 3 hours on the last 25% of this build-ish. But that's how it goes, right? That is how it goes. So, can you ask something about Moondrop? Okay, what is the question about Moondrop? By the way, each of these is going to be its own, like, red belt out. It'll go directly into a doohickey to do its output. Probably over on this side of things. Yeah. And it's gonna get things. It makes 5 total out, right? If I do that, do the... yeah, 15.75, but these all also get plus 40%. 28.35, yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. So what is your question about the moon drop? The moonest of drops. That needs 1, 2 separate. I mean, obviously, borax and sand castings. And then this is the stuffs. It's the stuffs and the things. Does one work? Yes, one of each works. Actually connect the power, and then I can grab the thing and do that. Exactly. Now, the great thing is, I just have to grab that, like so, and that's 5. That's 5, which means that now I need to get that. That's its own. That is a full throughput stacked red belt. I'll have 3 of these. Ish. It's not quite. It's not quite. It's a little bit less than that, but 6 is more. I think this is actually technically not. It's not technically 16. It's 15.72. Blue inserter for. Yes, that one doesn't actually work there. It has to be the other way around. Has to be the other way around. What are the boxes at the bottom? What? What? Boxes on the bottom. I have pipes. These are multi-purpose pipes. These are Pie-Sweet pipes. They are relatively new. They are the upgraded versions of niobium pipes. 2 recipes to grow moondrops. One with 2 moondrop seeds that gives you 5 moondrops, and another with 4 moondrops that gives 7. How can a double input recipe result in a lesser output? I don't really know what you're referring to. Moondrop. Two recipes to. I mean, there are many recipes to grow moondrop. What are you referring to? Because there's seeds in the moondrop, seeds in the moondrop, seeds and stuff in the moondrop, seeds and stuff in the moondrop. I mean, you might be looking at an old recipe that is still in the code but not actually available to you from previous versions. Like, what are you referring? Because the actual moondrop seeds themselves, the recipe to get seeds is 5 into 7, and it outputs 2 and a few. So it's 5 moondrop into 7 seeds, and it's supposed to work. This is just how this works. It's slightly stupid. It's a logistical nightmare on this one, but that's just how this one is. This is how you get your seeds. This is how you get your seeds at scale, and then you use your seeds to get more moondrop. And it's meant to do that. I don't know what you're referring to by a double input result in a lesser output. I don't know what you mean there. It's one is to make more seeds, one is to make more moondrop from the seeds. Because you've got say one is 2 moondrop seeds to 5 moondrop. Yeah, 2 moondrop seeds plus hydrogen into 5. Yeah, that's part of the normal setup. And then you can add soil to turn 4 into 7, and then you've got one that turns 6 into 10, and then one that turns 8 into 13, and one that turns 10 into 16, and then 12 into 18, 14 into 21, all the way up until you can eventually turn 18 into 51. Why does 2 seed give 5 and 4 seed give 7? I don't know. Ask King. They're the same speed as well. So yeah, that why does 2 give 5 and 4 give 7? 2 over 5 is 0.4, and 4 over 7 is 0.5. So, yeah, you are technically spending more seeds on this recipe that is quote unquote better. You are technically spending more seeds here on a better recipe. But the thing is here, you do get a higher volume out at the same speed. So that's another thing. This will result in higher volume out, but it's also you also have to spend slightly more of these to bring the seeds back in, so it's actually a bit of a wash. Just evens out there. So yes, there are going to be issues. There are some balance things among all of these. There's a ton of recipes. There's going to be some oversights like that. Just be sure to keep pointing them out. I would say that, like, is the soil recipe the highest one you currently have access to? Is the soil one the best one you currently have access to? I guess it is the best one without spending manure, technically. But if the ratio is 4 to 7 versus 2 to 5, the 2 to 5 is the better ratio, and it's the same speed of recipe for both. But you will need more of these buildings to get an equivalent output, raw output of Moondrop between the two. Now, if you go into Hellmod and you do the looping, the matrix solver, that'll ultimately tell you which one will be the more space efficient in the long run. So how the hell do I add this 7th or this 16th casting unit? Like, what in the world? That means I'm gonna have this. Excuse me. How am I gonna build this like that? It means I'm gonna have like this 3 times plus 1. Oh, I need pipe. I need pipe. What is this? The missed call? What number? I don't know. Go away. So yeah. Yeah, the seeds are important for the methane, right? Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, plus a spare. 3 plus a spare. What did Immortal miss? I've just done logistics. Logistics. That's all you've really missed. I've built this. We've been talking about, I guess, Moondrop a little bit. Also, Tholan's discussion that I guess you were somewhat here for. I've done the thing for the lime that I need here, so now all of this is technically done. It's just I need the inputs now. I need all of the inputs on the planet. What's this? This is Hellmod. This is Hellmod. There's a little button called Pin on Hellmod that gives you this window. There's also a little button called Summary that gives you a summary that tells you all of the totals of the building of the current production block. This is a way to help plan out your base. It tells you what the order is on your build, how many buildings you need to achieve specific outputs, how much you're going to use. So say I want, in this case, I am trying to process 150 ore into however many plates 150 ore makes. In which case, it tells me that I need 27 ball mills to process 150 zinc ore into grade 1, and then that grade 1 into grade 2, into grade 3, into grade 4, into powdered, into overflow, into pulp and waste, into pulp 2 and waste, into pulp 3 and waste, into more overflow and a purified, into a concentrate, into a pulp stage 4, the waste into a pulp stage 4, the 4 into high grade, and then the high grade into molten, and then the molten into plates. Now this is a planning tool. This tells you what to build. This is to help you plan out what to build. How big of a build. This is a planning tool. We plan here. We make plans. Plans are very important. And what I have built here is an execution of me building this block. I have built this block. This block tells me what I need to build. I determine how I build it. It tells me how many things I need, and it's good to keep this. I keep this up because it tells me, hey, I need 16 casting units to cast the molten. Okay, I know I need to build 16 casting units, and I know that the output is going to be ginormous, so I have to plan the logistics around and build the proper logistics to actually send off that 445.6 zinc plates, as well as I need 14.15 on the borax, 7.08 on the sand castings. I need to bring in 335 hot air, or 53.6 hot air, and 707.2 on the molten zinc. So I know I have to bring all of that in. On top of everything else. So yes, this is a very decent tool. Granted, it has its bugs, and it can be very finicky to work with. It will take you a long time to truly learn how to do this. Yes, and I do also wish that there was that the summary could tell you the combined total of all of the steps here in this overall production line. So I consider each of these is a production line consisting of all of these blocks here that all feed into the final block, but there's no summary button that tells you the summary of the entire line buildings, which is slightly annoying. At least none that I can find, anyway. And this tool is powerful enough that you can actually click on the building, the factory building in each step, tell it what type of mark level of building that you have. You can actually tell it, I've got a certain number of beacons that I'm using to build around this, as well as what modules you're using both in the buildings and in the beacons for it. So it can tell you the exact number of buildings that you need to do the specific type of processing that you're looking for. It works out of an ingredient input, and it works out of a product input. And it can solve for loops. For instance, I have a situation here where I have one of these steps that's going to output grade 2 zinc as well as powdered zinc that has to go back into this step here to process into more grade 3, which processes into more grade 4, which makes more powdered, which makes more grade 4, which makes more powdered and more grade 2, which makes more powdered, which makes more grade 4, which makes more grade 2, which makes more grade 4, which makes more grade 2, etc., etc. There is a limit, theoretical max that hits, so this solves for that max, what the actual values are. So, yeah. It is, however, extremely finicky. It is extremely finicky. So if I wanted to, say, add iron sticks onto this build, it won't actually tell me how many iron plates I need in this instance. This won't tell me here in this block how many iron plates I need because I'm set to ingredient input. And it wants to know how many iron plates because it's an ingredient input. It wants me to tell it how many iron plates rather than it telling me how many iron plates I need because it's not a product input, it is an ingredient input. In order to actually tell how many iron plates I need, I have to make a new block that has the recipe that I want in it. In this case, it is set to product input now in this new block, and it is linked to the block above it and the other blocks, I would imagine. And it is now able to tell me, hey, you need 37.5 iron plates to make the 90 sticks with 20% productivity through the 2 raw productivity modules added in mobs mods, as well as in 8 automated factories for this to do this step, and just the same all the way down the line here. Aromatics, I am making out of creosote. Hey, creosote. Creosote aromatics. Extra creosote that gets produced out of these 3. How many do I need? That's a good question. 58.29 plus stuff. Oh boy. 5. Yes, I knew I needed to add a few more of those. I had a feeling that was one of the things that I did not fix yet. So basically I built like most of this side before I realized that I didn't have the matrix solver on this. So yeah, I've had to scale it a little bit more. So I need 5 of these. Yeah, I need 5 of those in total. Ish. You know what? Let's be safe and add a 6th. You know, it's just gonna consume like a ton of tar. It's only gonna consume a little bit of tar, right? I don't need those grease tables. I don't need those jigs. What else do I need to think about? I don't know.